The moment I got the call for the audition, I just practiced every single day cooking. I've rewatched all the seasons of MasterChef. So the whole mental side of it, you are kind of forced into doing it when you have months to prepare.
Me and Michael are like the same age, and we're in different generations, I think Michael acts a lot more mature than I do. Like, he's definitely fits more in the millennial category, and I definitely fit more in the Gen Z category.
It's obviously really cool to win and everything, but just kind of seeing yourself on TV at first is a little bit strange, a little bit jarring.
I feel like with the hate comments, I got plenty of them. I just gotta say, they're peanut butter and jealous. That's it. The hardest critics are the ones behind the keyboards. They can't say it to your face, so I don't really take it that seriously.
Welcome, Michael and Murt. Thank you very much for joining me today in this episode of Oysterlink's podcast. I never like to introduce my guests because I do think that you do a much better job at that than me. So, Michael, if you could start because you were the first one to join and Murt was the second one to join. So, let's go by that.
Sure. I'm Michael Leonard, the winner of season 14 of MasterChef. A little bit about me. I just like to cook, hang out, have fun, and, do my thing, but mostly cook. All I really do is cook. So, yeah.
Yeah, my name is Murt. My real name is Christopher Murt. I was 5th place on MasterChef this year. And yeah, I like to cook just like Michael. That's why we're on the show. And yeah, I guess I'm from Florida and I am 28 years old.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I believe that our audience knows you already because I can see that a lot of our followers are following both of you. But anyway, for those who didn't know, so how was it actually when everything came out? Maybe for you, Mert, like when it was aired that you're no longer part of the competition, did it feel like an ease or like how was the coming down from the show's high actually?
So that's a pretty good question. So, Michael won the thing. So, again, congratulations to Michael. Incredible dishes he cooked during the finale. It's cool to watch. But I think it's a different experience for me compared to Michael in regards to like leaving the show. So, it's kind of everyone goes through the show like at a different mindset. I was on the mindset. I think Michael can attest to this. Just have as much fun as possible. Like I was like such a jokester, just like having fun with everyone. And I didn't really take things all too seriously because I was just having a good old time. But like when I left the show, I left with a smile, and I was like, I was just happy to be on the show for as long as I could. And it's just such a great experience. But like it does hit you emotionally. And I think like when you leave the show, you're like, man, like I'm not really there anymore. And like, yeah, you're like, I'm always rooting on like the other people that are there and like wishing them the best and stuff like that. But I think what actually kind of hit me harder was watching it actually live. When you like see your journey on TV and then you finally see yourself leave, like actually like after all the shows have like aired and stuff like that, I think it hit me a little harder because like, man, like I'm not there anymore. And you really have time to think about like the mistakes you like made on the show or like things you would do differently. And I think it's like kind of more emotional actually seeing yourself on TV than actually being on the show. Cause on the show, like you still have everyone there, like after, the scenes cut, they're like, hey, like, you did a great job, yada, yada, yada. Like, when you're watching at home, like it's just kind of like you and your couple of old friends, but they don't know what you really went through to kind of like support you through that. That's kind of my take on it.
You said you left with a smile, but how did it actually feel, to share with your friends and, to watch it with them and actually say, guys, this is the episode where, it's over for me?
Well, the thing is, I think a lot of people didn't know it. They knew I didn't make it to the finale, like my close group of friends, because I would invited them there and they know how the show works. So they're like, oh, like the last 2 episodes before the finale or tonight, like they're like, you're going home tonight. I'm like, yeah, like I'm going home tonight. So they kind of knew. But it just, in all retrospect, like it just hits you hard seeing yourself actually leave a show. Just been with going through the whole thing.
So what would be your advice for the people who are aspiring to join MasterChef, like how to cope with all the different emotions during the show and after the show?
I think how I coped with it is on the show, there's a lot of people that wish they were in our position. and just I was just thankful to be there. And, you know, whatever happens. You know, it could be out of my control. So again, I just thought of the bright side of everything. You know, I could have not even got an apron in the first place or made it as far as it could have. So I was just appreciative just to be there for as long as I could have. And again, cooking's supposed to be fun. That's the biggest thing. You know, it's supposed to be enjoyable and put a smile on people's faces and your face while doing it. And that was just what I was trying to do the whole time, is put smiles on the judges' faces, or like joking around with everyone else and just having a good old time, and not take it too seriously. So that's my advice, is just take it as seriously as you want to, but end all be all, you want it to be a fun experience, so don't think too much and hard about it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Michael. Now, back to you with the same question. Like, did it feel like a lot of pressure for having to keep the secret and not being actually able to share it? And how did you feel when the finale finally aired and everybody knew you are the, this season's winner?
It was a lot of mixed emotions, kind of similar to what Mert was saying. It's obviously really cool to win and everything, but just kind of seeing yourself on TV at first is a little bit strange, a little bit jarring. And then, like he said, I kind of started hyperfixating on all the mistakes I made, everything I said. And I was just kind of like, oh my gosh. And knowing that I was going to be in like every episode, from seeing like the episodes that I was a little bit kind of maybe cringed about, I should say, I got nervous, and knew that the finale, I wasn't sure how they were going to portray me, what I was going to say, because it's a TV show at the end of the day, but I was pretty happy with the outcome. I just did a watch party and, had a bunch of friends there, support and stuff. But I'm really happy with the after effects of it. I wasn't sure how people would like perceive me or anything, but it seems like there's a lot of support out there, and, I'm really appreciative of that. But yeah, it was definitely weird and surreal. Maybe that day didn't really set in after I watched it, but then the next day, going on Instagram, seeing all, the comments and posts coming in, that was a little bit overwhelming, because, just a lot of messages and stuff, was really cool, but I just didn't, know how to deal with that right away. So I've just spent like 8 hours just sitting there responding to messages and, posts and this and that. So that was a little bit weird.
Wow, that's a lot. 8 hours is like a whole shift. Okay, so now a couple of days, and how did you actually deal with, like, or what would be your advice dealing with social media? Because I know that a lot of the contestants like got a lot of heat, especially on Reddit, and that there were, not such nice comments, and Mert knows also. So how do you emotionally and psychologically deal with all those, positive and negative comments?
I feel like with the hate comments, I got plenty of them. It's honestly entertaining to read the Reddit threads and stuff like that, like what they'd say about us. I mean, for the nice ones, I always like thank the people after the show. I'm like, thanks for the kind words, yada yada yada. And that's why I made the whole Reddit thread of just being like, hey, this is me, this is my little story. Like, I'll answer whatever questions I'm able to answer without breaking my NDA. And I think reaching out and that engagement to your fans is what they really, really appreciate. I had a watch party and I like made a whole menu and stuff like that, and I had people come, people I had no idea who they were, and I wasn't cooking, but I scheduled the entire menu of the dish, or the menu of the night, and the cooks back there cooked it. I cooked it a week before and showed them how to cook it, and like I think the engagement of being with your fans, like they really, really take that to heart, and like that's like how you make that memorable feeling that they have for you to them. But when it comes to hate comments, I just gotta say they're peanut butter and jealous. That's it. They're jealous because they hate where we are. They wish they were in our position. And again, the hardest critics are the ones behind the keyboards. They can't say it to your face. So I don't really take it that seriously. Again, they're just jealous that they're not in our position and not on the show cooking for Gordon Ramsay and some excellent judges up there.
The thing is, I don't actually go on Reddit or anything like that much. I'm not the kind of, I'm not going to really deep dive on it or look at stuff that people kind of say, which maybe I should, but at the same time, I just, dealing with negative comments, I feel like would be really difficult. I've been blessed to really not have many at all, to be honest, but I know that some of the other contestants and stuff were getting bashed and stuff, and honestly, for them, I felt for them as well. Like, I even, I saw some comments people were saying, I was just like, it's just people don't know, and they just sit there and they try to make assumptions, and it's just negative. So they're just trying to be negative. But Mert's attitude about it is good because, just to have the confidence just to be like, whatever, and just kind of brush it off because, they're just keyboard warriors, like he's saying, just trying to, come at you for no reason, because, you have an accomplishment. So yeah, I think it's something that comes with being, in the limelight. You just get a lot of negativity, but staying positive and dealing with it is definitely, very important.
I think for me and Michael, we kind of mentally prepare what we're getting into. Like, we know we're going on like one of the biggest cooking shows in the world. Like, we know there's gonna be negative hate out there, positive hate. So like in your mind, like we've had months to kind of prepare for like what's gonna happen. So I think we probably both did that, and we just know what's gonna happen out there, and we're just ready for it. So we're expecting it.
So how did you actually prepare? Like, what made you so ready? People that you knew from previous seasons, or like circle of friends, or was it just watching the previous seasons? Like, what was the key preparation?
There's two types of preparation. There's like mental preparation, and then there's also like literal preparation with your skills. The moment I got the call for the audition, I just practiced every single day cooking. I rewatched all the seasons of MasterChef, stuff like that. But to the whole mental side of it, you are kind of forced into doing it because you have months to prepare it, and you're just sitting there knowing you're going on this competition. You can't do anything but think about it. So you're just thinking like, okay, what's the backlash going to be? Worst case scenario, what am I going to do here? How do I like perform with this? And then by the time you get out there, you ran through so many scenarios in your head that you're just kind of prepared for whatever happens.
I'm an optimistic person, but I'm a realist person. Like, the thing is, like, I was very realistic. I'm like, hey, I may get called out there, and like, now you gotta get an apron, So I was expecting that, and then, lo and behold, I make it to like the semifinals or fifth place, or whatever, and I just exceeded my expectations. So, but yeah, like, we definitely prepared beforehand. Everyone prepares different ways. Like, I was cooking every single day before the competition. Like, we had, I think, a big preparation I did. I don't know what Michael did, but we have our arsenal of dishes that we can cook in like our back pockets, and we just kind of correlate those to whatever the challenges can be, and like we'll articulate them. And being like good chefs that we are, like, we're able to understand these ingredients and recipes that we built in, and we know what works and what won't work, and things clash. So it's a lot of like on the fly stuff that we just know from cooking so long in preparation, that we're able to put what we put on plates together.
How did you actually decide that you're gonna, I'm gonna apply for freaking MasterChef? Like, I know I'm ready, or I'll be ready in a couple of months. Like, what was the trigger? And what would you also suggest to the people that have similar ambitions and that kind of like want to follow your steps?
Funny enough, I applied for not the season that I was on, but I applied for the previous season. And
Same
I never heard anything back. They called me back, the next year, ask if you were still interested. And then they always ask you a bunch of questions. Like, at the time, we didn't really know why they're asking all those questions, but they're asking, what do you think about all the different generations and stuff? And we're like, I don't know. So yeah, it's strange, but yeah, it was kind of out of the blue for me. So I'm not really sure. I just applied online, and then, a year later I get a phone call. So
that must have been interesting, the phone call.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Well, like, Michael, what like initially made you apply for the show? I'm kind of curious. Like, what was like, oh, like, now's the time? Like, I'm kind of curious about that.
Oh, well, because I used to watch the show all the time, and, I knew I could cook, and I was like, I just thought I used to always like say that if I was on the show, I would do really well. It was like, I'd at least make top 5. I used to always say that. And, so, basically my friend was like, put your money where your mouth is. Why don't you apply to the show? And I was like, all right, fine.
Yeah. That's funny. I mean, yeah.
So confidence is key. In your case, Michael, at least it worked like a charm for you. I mean, confidence, knowledge, talent, yeah, but you were like, okay, I'm going to be in the top 5, or I'm going to win, even before you applied.
Yeah, I mean, Murt can attest to this. I have a combination of confidence, and also like I was an anxious mess during the show. Like, I honestly was like, I was just like so anxious all the time. Once you start cooking, it's a different story. Like, you kind of zone in and stuff, but the waiting around and like waiting for the challenge, like, was just killing me. Like, that's the hardest part to me, was just like waiting. you know.
I feel you got in your head a little bit during the like the waiting time and stuff like that. I remember like during auditions, you were always on the phone. Like, I don't know who you're talking to. You're just outside. I was like, what's he doing
That's
out
so
there?
true.
It was funny. It was funny. But like Michael, like out of all the people there, Michael was one of the people that was just like so zoned in on winning this thing. Like, you know, it just everyone goes at a different route or a different way. They're the competition, and Michael is just like dead set on the prize. And I think you can contest for like other people. Like some people are just like having a good time or like, you know, just like, and also like taking it very seriously. And it just depends like how you want to approach the competition, and like whatever works for you works for you. And that's kind of the biggest thing.
Perfect. And Mert, what was your inspiration to apply for the show? You asked Michael, but you didn't answer.
Oh yeah. So I guess I'll tag on that. So I mean, just like to start, I mean, me and Michael as cooks, like you have the average. I just want to like have a baseline here. You have the average everyday cook that like cooks a normal chicken, rice, broccoli, you know, stuff like that normal people can cook. Like thing is like I think as cooks or chefs, whatever, like we're not way steps ahead, but we're steps ahead of like a normal average home cook. I just want to like put the baseline there. Like we can cook incredible stuff, like pretty much out of nothing. And it just separates a lot like from our friends than what we can cook. So I just want to put that baseline. So, I mean, I can cook pretty well. You know, Mike can cook pretty well, as we can see. And then I was at the point where I was making these little videos on Snapchat, and then during COVID, and I was like learning how to cook and like showing recipes and stuff like that. And then I started doing that to Instagram, and people were like, hey, like you should really apply to MasterChef. And I'm like, I'm not applying to MasterChef because you can see like what they're putting on that show, like the crazy dishes. I'm like, I'm not like that complex and stuff like that. So I was pretty intimidated. And then I'm telling you, after a little bit of alcohol, liquid confidence, you know, you get in your phone, a little peer pressure, and like that's what I did. I literally was on my phone. I applied for the whole show like at like a pregame, like after a couple drinks, and then yeah, and I applied for season 13 just like Michael did, and I went through the whole gauntlet of interviews, and then they told me at the end like, hey, like I don't think you're a right fit for that season, which is the regions, you know, but I think probably what happened for both of us is like they knew in the back of their minds like production, because they have all these planned, you know, what's called themes for these seasons. They're like, these two guys, like they'd be really good for like the generation, so let's save them for that because they'd fit better. So then yeah, I got the call just like Michael for season 14. Then off I went to LA, and then we're cooking and battling it out. That's pretty much it.
Wow.
And that's kind of my story.
Okay, so liquid courage and crazy confidence are the two things. That's gonna be the headline of the article. Just kidding. Thank you guys. Hey. This is amazing. So now you mentioned both the concept a little bit, generation. So how did you really feel about the concept of generations? Like, were you more comfortable working with the generation? And there's also been a lot of discussion who should have belonged to which group and those things. So how did it actually?
That's a big thing, because me and Michael are like the same age and we're in different generations, you know. So that's never been a controversy that people have been talking about. I mean, what I can say is I think Michael acts a lot more mature than I do. Like he's definitely fits more in the millennial category, and I definitely fit more in the Gen Z category. So I think that's how they put us. And I think probably millennials are full, or like Gen Z is full. Like, I don't know. They just put it that way, and I'm completely happy with it. But in regards to like battling generations, like with my mindset, we know this is an individual competition at the end of the day. And I didn't really care who was saving who. Like if someone had the best dish or whatever, they're saving the generation. Like you're always looking out for yourself. Like at the end of the day, like, yeah, you have your team, they're going to help you out like during team challenges, but like, it's like you're on your own towards the end of the competition. That's like kind of how I played it.
I agree with that. I think that's a crucial mindset actually, because I think if you kind of get too wrapped up in the whole team aspect of it, you know, you're going to lose yourself in that, because you're going to look for that protection. And then by the time we got to like, I think can't remember, it was like top 11 or something, top 12. We switched 12, over to top 12. We switched to individuals, and it's like it happened. Yeah, the tag team. That's right. Yeah. And we switched to individuals, and at that point, you know, it's every person for themselves. So, just if you keep that mindset during the competition, I think it definitely sets you apart.
So how did you actually feel that you belong to the more mature generation? Because it just doesn't make sense. Like, let's settle that. Why? Like, nobody really understands.
Well, I don't know. I think it's because I guess I'm a little bit more millennial, as they would say, because just the way that I grew up and stuff. Like my dad had a business, a lot of businesses growing up, and like since like 8 years old, I've been working for him, and that's like not even a joke. Like literally, I would just he would have me work every day, and it just kind of made me a little bit more I don't know, I guess millennial, like you want to put it that way, but yeah, I've always had that mindset. So and then you've got the Gen Z, the whole, aesthetic. It's like, having fun. Like Murt, I mean, he fits literally to the T, the aesthetic of Gen Z, and he did it really well on the show as well. So it definitely set him apart too. But yeah, I think everybody that they did well with the generation placements. I think it all made sense.
I think it made sense too. Like everyone to belong to their generation, everyone fit like exactly what that generation kind of portrays. So, but yeah, I think they did a really good job.
And what do you think about the next concept that is couples? Like, what are
I actually really like that concept.
I'm kind of interested about it. It should be interesting because I was kind of like speaking to production and stuff like that. I'm like, how it's gonna be like 40 chefs and to like 20 teams of 40 people. It's like, so I want to see how it is, but yeah.
I was just curious to how's your perspective, because I obviously have to read a lot about the world and a lot about the shows and everything, and I saw that people were really getting into the discussions like, no, they're gonna have to do this, no, it's lame, and they yada yada. So I'm like, from the contestants to contestants, what do you think?
I think the psychology behind it is interesting because if you think about it, some of the people's favorite episodes are tag team, team challenges, the wall. So the whole idea is because those challenges create the most drama. So if you have two people working on the same team throughout the entire competition, you're going to get so much drama. I mean, there's going to be disputes. They can do so many interesting challenges too. I mean, I think it's an awesome idea. I've actually said a couple of seasons ago that they should do like a couple / duos, and it's so funny that they're doing it now because I was like, yes, that's exactly kind of what I wanted them to do. But we'll see. I mean, I think it'll be fine. I mean, I haven't really seen a bad season of MasterChef, so
yeah, it should be very interesting. I'm just like, because for me, I think the tag team was the most dreaded challenge I had to go through. I hated that challenge, man. It was brutal. And I honestly can't imagine a whole season of tag teams. And I was like, I'm getting nightmares just thinking about it. But it's gonna make good TV. It's gonna make really good TV. So I'm just waiting to see how it goes down there, and that should be interesting.
Michael, what are the next steps for you and also for you, Murt? Like, how do you see your career progressing from here, from MasterChef? Like, what's the next big thing you're about to do?
I guess big thing is a hard question because it's more like a series of things. I'm just going to try to keep going with social media and stuff. I also definitely want to get into like private catering and dining and stuff like that, just to kind of, keep cooking, obviously. But I also do want to get, some residency in some Michelin restaurants and stuff, just to like really learn like a lot more about different techniques, different cooking and stuff, because down the line, eventually I do want to open up a restaurant, but I just know right now I can't do that. I just need more experience, more time. So traveling is a big thing, but it all kind of coincides together, the whole traveling and, social media. Just kind of, there's different ideas I have that I want to start working with. It's just, I've been kind of sticking with the consistent same format for a while, but I've got some other ideas in the mix. I just need, the time. And now that my season is finally slowing down for my business, I think I can start doing that.
Yeah, I think kind of the same thing Michael said. I mean, like we're still very young, we still have a lot to learn. I think learning is a really big thing for us right now, of like techniques and stuff like that. So I mean, definitely private dinners would be cool. I think I have one planned like in a month or so that I'm doing with actually someone from MasterChef Junior, so that should be actually kind of fun. And then I think kind of the social media aspect, and I think I like my stage at a couple of restaurants like here in Florida, and just kind of see like what they're all about, and just kind of learn. I'm all about learning right now, but kind of the main thing is like social media. And then I think a lot of people don't realize like even like being on the show and like the waiting to see yourself on TV, like we're kind of like in this limbo period of what's going to happen for like a year, and like we're just kind of seeing like what results going to happen from the show. So like we're kind of like on pins and needles, just kind of like trying to navigate, I guess, our direction of our cooking careers. But yeah, I think that's kind of my path right now.
You have had great mentors during the show. So, what would be the one thing that you would want from your next mentor, or what is your, let's say, red flag and green flag in a mentor? How can people see, oh, this is a good mentor, or oh my God, this is no, I need to get out of here?
Well, I think like when it comes to mentor, results is something you want from them. If you don't see that they have done it for themselves, how are they going to mentor you? So their own success is like the first key to being a mentor, I feel like. And then on top of that, it's about how well they can teach. There's different people. I think it's so difficult though, because one mentor that works really well for somebody might not work well for somebody else, just because like there's so many different teaching and learning styles that it really, really just depends on like what some people don't mind being like screamed at, but some people that just, flusters them and it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Sometimes.
I think a good combination of both personally for me works, like, some of the, aggressive, let's go, but along with the, hands-on teaching and stuff is kind of what I notice works best in a general aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think patience is a big thing for a mentor. I mean, it just everyone learns a different way. Some people learn by reading a book, some people learn by hands-on stuff, some people learn just by like demonstration. Like it depends. So like your mentor has to fit your learning style. And again, what Michael was saying, like sometimes like it's good to get yelled at and sometimes it's not good to get yelled at. Some people crumble under pressure and some people don't. So it just depends. But again, success on what your mentor has done is definitely a big thing if they're actually credible to actually be your mentor in the first place. So I think you kind of hit it on the head there. I don't really have that too much to say in regards to that, like too differently.
Was there an arrangement between the two of you? Whatever you say, I'm going to confirm.
Yeah,
not really.
We talked before this and had all the questions answered, so we just make sure they're all the same.
I knew it. You hacked my Reddit and you saw all the questions. I actually asked the audience if they had any questions for you, but I think that I posted it too late, so nobody actually responded. They just voted whom I'm going to interview, and they voted correctly. Like
Yeah.
there was only one like wrong answer, and I was like, damn. So I'm not keeping a poker face here on Reddit, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Speaking about mentors, and it doesn't have to be connected to MasterChef or like any of those mentors. Like, what was the genuinely best piece of advice, career-wise, that you got from someone?
I remember you ever watch that thing, Michael, on Netflix? It's called Chess Table.
Oh, Chef
I think
Table,
it's
yeah.
like Yeah, so I think I was watching. I watched a bunch of them. They're very inspirational. And I remember I was watching that guy Grant Atkins, like his whole documentary of like how his restaurants stuff like that. And I think he said something along the lines that like mistakes is how you learn stuff, and like he like had so many mistakes of just making dishes and like, but like he learned so much stuff from those mistakes to like perfect the actual dish that he made. So like mistakes are okay, but every mistake you have, just make sure you learn something from them, so you're not repeating the same mistake over and over and over again. That's kind of some advice.
This kind of actually goes back to the mentor question for me, because it's like it depends who the career advice comes from. Oh man, I gotta say, I mean, obviously meeting Ramsey and stuff. Ramsey was like my idol. I love Gordon Ramsay, and everything he said to me kind of stuck with me. A lot of his words. He basically, one of the big things, I think I talked about this in other interviews too. It's just he talked about confidence and like how and he does that on all his shows. He basically always talks about being a chef. You need to be confident. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway, honestly, is to have that confidence to just go do things, because it doesn't really matter if you fail at it. Just like kind of Murt was saying, it doesn't really matter if you fail, you learn from your mistakes. So I think that kind of ties into that. Just being confident in everything that you're doing, not arrogant though. I think it's very important not to be arrogant, because then you'll lose yourself in it.
Okay, thank you so much. So you said Gordon is one of your role models. Let's put it that way. How did it actually feel to get like negative feedback, and how did you handle like anything that wasn't, like up to his standards, because he has rigorous standards. So there's a lot of people who, as we mentioned and you both mentioned, crumble under the pressure. So how do you take the feedback and actually improve without getting sad or emotional about it?
I think you just take it and run with it. It's I think I prefer the negative feedback. If I got nothing but positives, that I wouldn't have no room to improve. I like the fact that every dish, no matter how good that came up, they always had something to say about it. Because I think no matter how good a dish is, there's a little something that could possibly be done to it. But I think that translates to everything in life, that you do. There's always a little bit room for improvement. Not that, you should, beat yourself up every time you do something like, I didn't do this perfect. But that's the exact reason you shouldn't, is because, it'll never be perfect. You just have to constantly strive for perfection.
Wow. Okay, that's quite deep. So now I kind of like understand more why you are in the millennial generation. Now it's a little bit more clear to me. Okay, was there anything during the filming or the competition itself that surprised you, that you kind of like didn't see from watching the previous seasons, or didn't really prepare for?
I mean, I didn't think there's gonna be that many cameras, that many lights.
That's actually true. Yeah, there was.
I didn't think of that. God, there's probably like 50 cameras all over the place, and I don't even know how many lights are on the ceiling. It was crazy, the production that
the lights are wrong.
Happens for the show. Golly, man, it's like blinding.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I guess something we didn't expect maybe is like how good some of these home cooks were, and yeah, I think it's crazy how good some people are that are just everyday people, just can cook. It's nuts.
Yeah, I also didn't expect like how long we had to wait for everything. A lot of the times, there's a lot of waiting. I mean, I guess that makes sense because it's production, but just sometimes just standing there for like an hour and we're like, what are we doing here? And you get so little information. I mean, I always tell people that like that aspect of the show is very true. Like we're kind of in the dark, not only for the challenges, but just in general. We just kind of have no idea what's going on until it's happening.
Like as much as the competition is physically, like it's also like mentally exhausting too. Like it seems like you never know what's next, and it's a big mind game at all times. Like just you're waiting around, like, and like the surprises, like you'll never know what's gonna happen. So it's just like you always gotta be on your toes, and then just kind of go through the waves. That's the biggest thing. Just like keep in there. And it's long days. We're on set for long days, or long hours. So yeah.
What was so far the biggest sacrifice that you had to do for the culinary career? And are you actually ready to, really build a brand and actually make all the necessary sacrifices? Just example, I spoke with Claudia Sandoval, one of the previous winners, and she said that after winning, she did invest a lot of the money that she got into actually promoting the cookbook and, touring and doing this and that. And it also, filming takes a lot of time, and she wasn't able to see her daughter and stuff like that. For you guys, it's obviously different, but again, you both have families. So what was the biggest sacrifice so far?
Yeah, I think what a big sacrifice is our time, honestly. I mean, time is very valuable, and I think people don't realize even showing the engagement online and being online for so long, and the hours it takes to edit these videos and tape these videos. Like, yeah, you guys may see like a 1-minute clip online, but like that video took like 10 hours to do. Like you don't realize like the amount of effort it's in there. But also like again, the big sacrifice also is just like the not knowing. Like, you can't really like say like my cooking career is done right now and I can just focus on my normal job. Like I don't have that like cut stone knowing that it's done. I'm always in that limbo, so I can't put 100% towards one thing. So it's just, we're always balancing like normal life and cooking life, and that's kind of a big sacrifice, I think, for, I don't know, just mentally stuff.
Okay, thank you. Michael, what about you?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was actually going to say time as well, because, time is obviously, the most valuable thing we have. And, anything you do, I think the translation of, how much effort and time you put into it to the outcome is important. It's an important formula. So, if you're putting in a lot of effort and you're not getting anything out of it, it becomes a waste of time, so you want to make sure that you're using your time wisely. And I think that's why like the whole idea of like enjoying yourself while you're doing things is like so important, because if you're going to spend the time doing it anyway, you might as well kind of enjoy what you're doing. So yeah, the biggest sacrifice is just, giving up all your time.
for kind of an unknown. Like, you don't know what's going to happen out of it. We're just giving up time and like kind of pursuing something that we don't know what's going to like come out of it. So that's the biggest thing.
I understand, but it feels like that's kind of like in every career, or at least that has been my experience as well. Like you invest a lot of you, and you never know what you're gonna get in return. Like my previous company actually went bankrupt without them letting us know, so they filed for bankruptcy without actually informing us. So yeah, that was a very fun time. Okay, cool. So I do have two more questions. But please don't say the same thing. Just kidding, you can.
No
If you
promises.
didn't win, like who was your runner up in your head? Like whom would you be, kind of like comfortable with winning?
That's a tough
Out of the
question.
finale people, like out of the people in the finale.
No, out of all the contestants, like whom would you really cheer
Oh,
on
okay.
for? Like other than
Oh,
yourself.
I know we're thinking the same person. I
Yeah, I
know we
know.
got the same person in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say Adam probably.
I don't know. I thought Anna had it, man. I thought Anna had that one in the bag. If Anna didn't screw up that
Oh
dish,
yeah.
I thought Anna. I think Anna was one of the best cooks. And like, no
Oh
offense, Mike, I
yeah.
think she was an incredible cook. She's like,
I
just
100,000% agree
insane.
because yeah, I totally forgot about. I didn't really forget about Anna, but she was yeah, she got out pretty early, but it was just kind of a massive shock to everybody because hands down, she was like probably the most talented cook there. Like her, I mean, her dishes, her plating, her like techniques were insane. Like she made me really nervous, and we were in the same generation too. So yeah, she got out on the cake challenge, and I was like, oh, I knew it probably gave me a little bit more of a shot though too. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
like the
so
biggest
true.
competition left. I was like, sheesh. Like, it got real there. I think that's when she got eliminated. I was like, all right, they ain't messing around with this judging here. Like, it was,
Yeah,
you ain't cooking a good dish. You going home. Like, I didn't disagree with anyone getting sent home up when they did. Honestly, every time someone got sent home, it's like either like they undercooked chicken or like the sauce was too salty or something like that. It was just like I knew they were going home. Like, even when I was going home, I knew I was going home halfway through my dish. So I'm like, this is the time I go home. But I already know it.
I mean, there's a lot of good cooks. You know, everybody there was really talented, but yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Anna really was crushing it in the beginning.
So I guess I'm gonna have to kind of like come to Gordon and ask him why did this contestant? Just kidding, but apparently, or that Claudia told me, it's the people who don't have a lot of backstory and a lot of like TV personality that's not gonna stick. And I think that that's one of the most truthful things that anyone has ever said about a show.
Well, I don't think it comes to. I think personality definitely helps you. You know, it definitely helps you get on the show. That's one thing. Like I always say this: if you have someone that cooked a dish that equally as good or bad as you, who do you think they're gonna pick to win? You know, the person with a great personality, a person with a not great personality. Like, who do you think they're gonna keep on the show? So you got to put that, and you got to take that into account. But it's not everything. It's really not. Like, it's not going to get you through the competition. Like, it can get you maybe so far, but they're going to start weeding you out real quick if you can't cook.
Yeah. And for, legally, they have to make the competition fair as far as it being a cooking competition. That's one thing that I think a lot of
Uh-huh.
people don't know is that they actually like have to legally make sure that we are, being judged fairly based on our cooking. So sure, just like you were said, of course, your personality goes a long way. Especially, I think the biggest thing with personality is screen time. You're going to get more screen time the bigger personality or better personality you have. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to make it further in the competition just because you have a good personality. You have to cook.
Yeah, of course not. You have to have the talent and the skills, but the personality sure helps a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, they need to sell a show and they need to have the audience that's watching. And if you have like dull people who have no personality, who's gonna ever watch that? Exactly. So, so Mark, you did say one thing that tickled my mind before I jump to my last question, and that was that you knew mid dish that that's your time when you're gonna finish the competition. Did you still put your best into that dish? Did you still try to kind of like fix and
I
repair
here's
and
here's what happened. So I mean, there's a lot I want to say about this, but I'm not going to dive that into it because I'll break every NDA sentence that there is. But I was like having a good old happy lucky time going through this competition here. I was like, I was doing whatever. And then I don't know what it was, but when you hit like semifinals, like my like mind changed. I'm like, wait, maybe I could win this thing. Like that started going through my mind. Like, it wasn't like, oh, have fun and create a cool dishes. Like, oh, like, let's be really intricate here. So then everything just started clashing in my head. I didn't know what I was making. Literally, I didn't know what I was making until I ran to the pantry. I was just trying to put together something. And I was trying to make something that was like not going to clash, but that was going to hit all the ingredients, all the things they're asking. It was honestly a tough challenge. It was honestly like a word game. It was like a Mad Lib. And I felt like in the head, like how I would compare it to, like, say like you're trying to cross a bridge and you have a little troll that you got to solve the riddle for. That was like the riddle you got to solve to like make the dish that like lets you get over the bridge. So I don't know. But yeah, we're all trying. Everyone wanted to try they make the best dish possible. It's like, no, I wasn't giving up. I don't think anyone gave up on the show. I mean, people got tired, but you weren't giving up when you're that far in the competition. There's no way, no shot.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's going to be a great inspiration. And one last question for both of you before I let you continue with your busy lives and your social media and your cooking careers that I assume and hope will be huge is what would be the one thing you wish you knew before actually you press that apply button?
Probably how long everything is going to take. I guess you kind of have an idea of it, but like it is so time consuming. And then, we're out there for a pretty long time too. And, it's a lot of traveling, a lot of, doing interviews, filling out paperwork. Yeah, it's very stressful. It's like very, very stressful, the whole entire process. And I guess you kind of think that when you press apply, but then once it starts happening, you're kind of like, am I gonna be able to do all this? Like, this is kind of a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Okay, Mert. But for this time, you can't say the same thing. This is where I draw my line.
Yeah, no. I'll say separate things. I think one thing I wish I knew going into the competition, or one thing I prepared a little better for, is how to make sides. Because like sides are like a huge thing that comes to the show. Like I always think about the hero protein of like a sauce or something like that. Those little sides will either make it or break in a dish. So like have like at least a ton of sides lined up with like some sides with acid in it, or sides with spicy, like just little sides with like normal greens that like just can really just stay with the dish. And I wish I prepared a little better with the sides. But that's what I would say. And I think mentally, like you need to have a really strong mental game, like really prepare mentally what you're about to go through. And yeah, I guess that I would say about that.